Those stories shortly, but first we start on India's historical visit by Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Netanyahu addressed top Indian businessmen at the India-Israel Business Summit a short while ago in Mumbai. Prime Minister Netanyahu hailed the Indian government for its open tax reform policy. He also urged business leaders to focus on innovation.
Israel is an innovation nation. India is an innovation nation. We must be innovation nations to seize the future. If we don't, we'll fall back. If we do, we'll define the future.
The Israel Prime Minister began his day with a power breakfast with top Indian businessmen. ICICI Bank CEO Chanda Kochhar, Anand Mahindra, among several others, were present at the breakfast table. Later in the day, Benjamin Netanyahu also met Moshe and his family at Nariman House in the city. He will also address a meeting with the Jewish community in the city of Mumbai. Prime Minister Netanyahu and his wife will attend a Shalom Bollywood event tonight, among other engagements. There may also be a one-on-one meet between Israel's Prime Minister and Maharashtra's Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis. All right, let's go to our guests to get more perspective on this story. We have Carolyn Glick, a senior columnist and editor for the Jerusalem Post and a former foreign policy advisor to Prime Minister Netanyahu, live from Jerusalem. Great to have you here joining us. We appreciate that. Let's dive right in. How is the media covering this visit to India of Netanyahu?
I think that the Israeli media and the Israeli people are watching this with amazement and excitement that this long germinating alliance between the Indian people and the Israeli people is really blossoming, and we see it coming so strongly into our vision and into our faces, really, with this extraordinary visit by Prime Minister Netanyahu in India, which of course comes months after Prime Minister Modi came here and amazed the Israeli people with his warmth and friendship and enthusiasm for the burgeoning alliance between our two countries.
In terms of the relationship between India and Israel, how significant is this move? You know, the fact that Modi was there in Israel not too long ago and now Netanyahu in India, certainly improving and building on their ties, specifically in the defense sector.
Look, I think that it's very important. I mean, our countries, first of all, from Israel's perspective, and I think probably from India's as well, we look, and our primary export market has traditionally been Europe. But the European economies are stagnating, and they're not likely to grow at any serious rate in the future. And so for the past decade, the Israeli government has been pivoting towards Asia, because between India and China, just those two countries, your two countries, are now assessed to be the producers of half of the global GDP within just 25 years. So it doesn't make any sense for the future for Israel to continue to be doing the things that we've done in the past, and therefore the Asian markets are extremely attractive to us. And aside from that, from India's perspective, as opposed to China's, we share political values, and we share extensive strategic interests with the Indians, because we're the only democracy is really between the Mediterranean Sea and Pakistan. So we sort of bookmark the entire world where you're seeing failed states and jihad plaguing both the populations of those areas and also the world. So we have an enormous amount of strategic commonalities. We have shared values, and we have extraordinary economic synergies in terms of development and manufacturing, innovation, technology sharing, and your ability to implement them and for us to work together. So I think that from Israel's perspective and from India's perspective, the commonality of interests and economic complementary nature of our economies, I think, all speak very well for this alliance and for its longevity.
What are some of the big takeaways as well? The fact that, he was in Mumbai, the financial capital of India. Later on tonight, there's going to be a big star-studded event at Shalom Bollywood. A little bit on a lighter note, but more of the business meet that was earlier with CEOs and other leaders. What are some of the takeaways that we can expect to perhaps bring back when he goes back to Israel from his time here in India when it comes to some of those business talks that he gave?
Well, I think that Prime Minister Modi, if I'm not mistaken, he was saying that the Indian economic miracle is going to be 4 colors, based on the 4 colors of your flag. And Israel really is invested and capable of working with India on all of them. From our dairy industry and agricultural industries, from our water industries, our ability to essentially make water out of air, and the technologies that we've developed and make clean water in any circumstances. I mean, these are things that can help drive the Indian economy also forward and to become the world leader in innovation and in agriculture in the 21st century. So I think we've seen in Gujarat, Prime Minister Netanyahu visited one of the agricultural farms, technological farms, that Israel has already developed in India, and we're planning, I understand, on developing another 5 times as many as we already have throughout India. So I think that these are the sorts of things that we can look forward to going forward, and also to cooperation in defense technologies and homeland security technologies in a way that we've already seen burgeoning over the past decade, but with more cooperation between our militaries, between our defense industries as well.
All right, Caroline, stand by. Let's also bring in WION's correspondent, Pragya Jha, who is in Mumbai, where all the action is unfolding. Pragya, you were there earlier on at the Taj Hotel. A lot of security. What is the situation now like in terms of the meet that has taken place with the business leaders? There's, I also understand, talks to the Nariman House, and then, of course, the Shalom Bollywood event later on today. So certainly the financial capital putting out a royal red carpet welcome for Israel's Prime Minister. Pragya?
That's right, Archit. The business summit with key corporates and industrialists at Mumbai just got over a few hours back. And a few minutes back, we also had the Prime Minister and his convoy traveling towards the Kabad House. Now, that is another event that he's there for. Of course, it's not open for all. It's a very private event wherein he will be meeting 26/11 survivor Moshe Holzberg and his grandparents. And together, they will be unveiling the 26/11 memorial at the Kabad House, and that's the significance of going there. So a few minutes back we saw the convoy leaving from the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel here in Colaba, and amidst high security, of course. The Taj Mahal Colaba continues to remain cordoned off for the rest of the public, and it's going to be there this way until the Prime Minister leaves tomorrow. Now, the basic stress on the number of issues that were discussed at the time of the business summit early in the morning was Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying that, we look forward to a free trade agreement between India and Israel. He said that anything that holds back a country, whether be it in forms of regulations or excessive taxation system and burdening new and budding entrepreneurs with taxation, is going to suspend innovation and going to suspend the progress of a country. And he also said that he looks forward to collaborating with India, because the Prime Minister Narendra Modi also shares a similar vision like Benjamin Netanyahu. And so he went on to say, and he invited personally the businessmen from India to come and invest in Israel. And he said that, look, Israel, turn towards Israel for your needs in terms of investment, technology. The Chief Minister of Maharashtra also made a statement. He addressed the gathering there and he welcomed the Prime Minister. He said that he was very impressed with Israel's irrigation technology technology, the drip irrigation technology, and he also said that the Marathwada region of Maharashtra, which is a very important region but suffers water scarcity, will be installing the water grid that will be taking cue from Israel, and he looks forward to such associations with the country. And moving forward in the evening, the plan really will stay at about 4:30. At about 4:30, the Prime Minister will be meeting members of the Jewish community who are settled in Mumbai. Close to 500 families of Jewish descendants have been settled in Mumbai for past many, many years. He'll be meeting them. And 6 o'clock, which is the highlight of his visit to Mumbai, he rolls out the red carpet for stars here, for well-to-do producers, directors, and acclaimed actors in the city. So he's inviting Bollywood to enhance the tourism profile of Israel. He is inviting the people here, taking cue from the past, that movies that have been shot at his foreign locales have resulted in a surge of tourist footfall for the host country. So the evening is something people are really looking forward to, as it's going to be a star-studded evening with A-listers from Bollywood being hosted by the Prime Minister.
And as you pointed out, Pragya, in terms of also dealing with terror, this is something that both Modi and Netanyahu have touched base before. It is something that is not just affecting India and Israel, but around the world, but something that both world leaders are certainly on their priority list in addition to the business and trade deals. How, to what extent do we believe that is going to drive their conversation between Modi and Netanyahu when it comes to dealing with terror? Of course, Mumbai being the place where the 26/11 terror attacks happened nearly a decade ago.
In terms of trade and agreement, we saw aerospace industry, we saw real estate industries having their outlets being placed at the business summit, where they were talking to prospective, big-time industries here, and they were giving them an idea of how Israel is, what Israel can facilitate for them. And Prime Minister Netanyahu lays specific and great stress on the bit of innovation. He says that Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Make in India concept or idea is, resonates with his idea of innovation, and Israel's mainstay is really innovation, and that's why he connects these two, and these two things can create a bridge for the two countries to keep having economic exchanges.
All right, let me go to Caroline as well. The Pragya stand by. Caroline, same question to you in terms of terror. How important is those dialogues? I mean, Modi has talked about that before during his visit earlier on to Israel, and then now vice versa, Netanyahu here in Mumbai, where, of course, the 26/11 terror attacks took place back in 2008. I mean, that is certainly a hot button issue, not just for India and Israel, but around the world, but crucial. How important is it that these two leaders discuss that and put that in the forefront?
But it's obviously extremely important because Islamic terrorism and extremism really is something that threatens not only Israel and India, but the entire free world. And so the fact that our leaders are taking a leading role in working together to fight this is going to be a beacon for countries and peoples throughout the world. And I think that it's going to empower the worldwide fight against terrorism in a significant way. And here, too, I think it's important to highlight, one of the very few but still significant flies in the ointment of our burgeoning ties, which is India's close bilateral relationship with Iran, which is the most active state sponsor of terrorism worldwide, that is openly calling for the annihilation of Israel. I think that one thing that's very important here, too, is for the Indian people to stand with the Iranian people who are trying to overthrow their regime, that are still in this 3 weeks into the protests, and saying that we don't want to have this regime that's repressing us as human beings, and we want to have freedom. And so I think that it's very important that as a signal that to what awaits them is this incredible bilateral relationship between the Indians and the Israelis, that this can be the future as well for the Iranians, and what an extraordinary thing it would be if we were able to see a new regime, an open, peaceful regime taking over in Iran. I think that's very important. And can I just say one thing about Bollywood?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay. So So the thing about Bollywood that I think it's important to note is that from what I understand, and I'm not an expert in the entertainment industry, but Israel is also an innovation nation in movies and in television screenplays. I mean, the biggest Hollywood blockbusters, the biggest American television series are all originating in recent years in Israel, in Treatment, Homeland, all of these huge American Emmy-winning series. They were all based on Israeli scripts. They were all created by Israeli filmmakers, screenwriters, producers. And so I think, as Bollywood really takes off as the dominant or sharing with Hollywood dominance in movie making worldwide, I think it's an amazing thing that we'll be getting together and hopefully making great movies and great television series together and filming them in Israel, filming them in India, wherever we want. But I think here too we're seeing a combination of Indian ingenuity and Israeli ingenuity that can really produce extraordinary entertainment for the entire world.
All right. Thank you so much, Caroline. We appreciate those insights. Certainly very interesting developments, as well as Pragya getting us the latest from the ground in Mumbai on Netanyahu's visit to Mumbai. Thank you so much for those updates.